You know, I know how to wake you up out of your bed early. Some of you left Westmoreland or St. James even, early to get here, having breakfast in the car and all of that. But I know you can do a little bit of that. I know some of you probably would have been in church or at the beach or somewhere else where you're here. And so let's share in a good time together. I'm from the country, you know, rural Jamaica, and let me check, I have country manners. You know what I mean? So when I say good morning, I expect some kind of a response. Is that okay? So let's try this again. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Now my heart feel good, you know? My name is Jason McKenzie. I serve as the director of the Office of Student Services and Development here at the Mona campus of the University of the West Indies. And it's my distinct pleasure to join you here this morning, and I will be guiding you through the day's proceedings. Let me acknowledge and recognize the Deputy Principal of the Mona campus of the University of the West Indies, Professor Ian Boxill, who is on stage with me, from whom you will hear in short order. There are other distinguished colleagues who are with us this morning, and I'll introduce them in a short while as well. But let me extend a very, very warm welcome to all parents, family members, spouses, well-wishers, guardians to this our very special family orientation. All of you who are here this morning, attending from across the island, let me extend a warm greeting as well to persons across the region and even across the world who maybe join us on our YouTube channel. This is a very special year in the life of the university. This year, we celebrate 75 years. And that is significant because the Mona campus of the University of the West Indies is where it all started. And the UWI has contributed significantly to this region and the world in a number of areas. And so we are pleased to be able to celebrate 75. The theme for our celebration is Rooted, Ready, Rising. And if by chance you want to know more about this, our celebration for the year, you just check our website at www.mona.uwi./UA75. Just check us out. There's a lot for you to see and to experience there. This is our first face-to-face activity for this, our 2023 version of the orientation exercise. If you want to see the other events in our orientation schedule, just engage with our AI platform. Go to www.ceai.chat. That's capital CEAI.chat. I'm happy that you're here this morning. I'm happy that you have chosen the Mona campus of the University of the West Indies. We are clear in our minds that you had options, you had choices, but here you are, electing, deciding, choosing the UWI as your place for higher education for your child or ward. And we thank you for that. We know what we bring to the table, but we also are aware that there are other players in the marketplace. And so your choice to make this your place for higher education, we value that, and we thank you for that. We have invited you here this morning because we see you as important partners in the process of learning and development. We see you as critical stakeholders. Though we commit to you to ensure that your child or ward has an exceptional teaching and learning experience here on campus, we are relying on you to help us on that journey. You are significant to us. You are significant players in this journey. And this year in particular, we have said we want the support of our parents and family members because we understand that supportive families will cause for us or will help us curate the resilient UWI student. What are we talking about when we speak of resilience? Because we understand that we're operating in a space where people will be challenged. And we want for our students to be able to withstand or just address or adapt or be able to adjust to misfortunes, to overcome obstacles, and to bounce back from perceived failure, disappointment, or rejection. And how students learn to handle these things will have a lasting impact on their future careers and relationships. Our quest is to foster student success. And parents, family members, we cannot do it without you. We cannot do it without you. And this is why you're here. This is why we're focusing on resilience this year. Because we understand that our students are challenged in various ways. They will now have to navigate the challenges of the classroom and the activities that happen outside of the classroom. They'll have to navigate competing forces. They'll have to deal with stresses that come their way. And we want to be able to engage our students in activities that will help them to build resilience. We understand that coming out of COVID-19, we're seeing a range of mental health challenges across the population. And so the university age population is not exempt from all of that. And parents, family members, we want you to help us help your student succeed in this university space. And so we thank you for being here with us today. Our quest is to help you, is to provide you with some information that will empower you to parent the university student. Relating to a university student is very different from how you related to your student or your child during high school years. I see a child, a student smiling about that. Because it's the reality. They are now young adults here at UA, and they have a responsibility to chart their own course with your guidance and support, of course. And Dr. Richards will tell you more about all of this. But what I'm saying to you is that we have invited you here today to share with you critical information that will help you to better parent a university student. We want to talk to you about financing higher education. We want to talk to you about academic matters. We want to talk to you about their involvement in engagement activities. We're talking about co-curricular activities that will help them to become the holistic student. We want to talk to you about the resources that are available here on campus to help your students succeed. We want to talk to you about how we will support your child on their journey through the academy. We want to talk to you about student housing, off-campus housing, about security. These are critical matters, and we know you want to hear about these things. We also want to talk to you about some of the things that we may not have given thought to, but questions that you may have in your minds at this point in time. Altogether, we want to help you prepare your child or your ward to succeed in this space and beyond. Because ultimately, what we want to do is to prepare global citizens, persons who are able to survive and to navigate the global space and to excel in those spaces. Dr. Williams, Caribbean people are known to excel wherever in the world they go. And the UWI has a role to play in that regard. Our students are excellent students in whatever discipline they take on. And here on this journey, we are opening a pathway for success. And we want you to hold hands with us in this journey. And so, ladies and gentlemen all, it's my distinct pleasure and privilege to welcome you once more to the Mona campus of the University of the West Indies, and to say to the students and family members that this really is indeed the place for your child to shine. You have a role to play, and we want for you to come with us, to partner with us on this journey. I look forward to us today having a wonderful experience together as we learn more about each other, as we learn more about the offerings of the Mona campus of the University of the West Indies. This morning we have with us the Deputy Principal of the Mona campus of the University of the West Indies, Professor Ian Boxill. He's a known researcher, but beyond that, Professor Boxill has a knack for working with people. He has responsibility for academic affairs and student affairs on the campus. And today he'll be addressing this gathering for the last time in his capacity as Deputy Principal. He hands over the reign at the end of this month to Dr. Tomlin Paul, who will take office as Deputy Principal. And he goes on to explore new avenues and to engage in other things. I crave your full attention as we invite to the lectern our Deputy Principal, Professor Ian Boxill. Make him welcome, please.
Good morning to all of you, and please don't panic whenever an audience sees someone open up a folder. They start to get nervous because they think, oh, I'm going to have to sit here for a long time. Not to worry, I'm only here for 1 hour. Just joking. I see there are quite a few people coming in the back. Just to let you know, at the back, we don't have enough space for all of you. So the persons who are letting them in, you will have to get them to divert to the overflow, because I can see quite a few people at the back standing at the moment. So, ladies and gentlemen, students, parents, welcome to the University of the West Indies. We are happy to have you join us, and hopefully you will, meaning the students, will leave as proud Pelican. I myself am a proud Pelican, and I attended this august institution many years ago. And I'm proud to say that, having attended many years ago, that it continues to be in my mind one of the important lights shining throughout the Caribbean to the world. Every year I do this, I say to the audience, welcome to the institution of professors and doctors. And then I'm asked, what's the difference between a doctor and a professor? Well, a professor is a person who professes, meaning that they are supposed to be an expert in a particular area. So you can have a professor of a particular area of chemistry or math or physics or whatever. And professors become professors based on the amount of publication, the impact that they have made on the discipline. So someone becomes a professor based on the assessment by people in that discipline, they think that this person has done enough to be awarded the highest level in the university, which is normally we call a chair, which means a professorial chair. It's not a literal chair, but it means that you hold a prestigious position in the institution. Now, what's the difference between that and a doctor? And by doctor, I'm not talking about medical doctor, because what a lot of people don't know is that the word doctor comes from the Latin word docere, which means to teach. So historically, a doctor was somebody who was a teacher. So if you were a teacher, you were called a doctor. Now, how it became associated with a physician, which historically that was the word that a medical doctor was called, is unclear. But during the 12th, 13th century, most people who achieved the status of what it was called a master teacher was called a doctor, which means that you are a great teacher. So historically, universities awarded doctorates to people who achieved the highest level of qualifications to teach in a university, which is you get a doctorate, so you become a doctor of that particular area. So you become a doctor of English, or you become a doctor of theology, or a doctor of whatever. So that is to be distinguished from a medical doctor, someone in our system who will graduate with an MBBS. And that person then becomes a doctor of medicine, but it's an undergraduate degree. If they want to teach in the university, they have to get a doctorate, which then makes them a teacher. Now, I say all of this because part of the job of the university is to hopefully expand our understanding of reality, and to help you to understand where a university like this fits in the larger scheme of things. So I'm going to give you one little tidbit for you to take home, and that is a very brief history of about universities like ours. Now, the oldest university in the world is what? Some people will say Oxford, right? I think Oxford was founded around 1088, long time ago. That was followed by Cambridge around 1209. But did you know that the oldest university in the world was actually started by a woman from Morocco? And it still operates to this day in Morocco. It was founded by a woman, her name was Fatima al-Firi, and it was founded in 859, long before Oxford and Cambridge. And as I said, it was started by a woman a long time ago, over 1,100 years. So Africa, where Morocco is, has the oldest university in the world. But if you go and you read Wikipedia, you'll probably see Oxford, right? Or you will see before that, University of Bologna, which is in Italy, and that was founded long before Oxford, and is said to be the oldest university standing to this day. So you have the University of Bologna, you have Oxford, you have Cambridge, but the reality is, in other words, if you were to go and do your research, what you will see is that the University of Al-Qarawin, which is in Morocco, is actually the oldest university in the world, and it was started by a woman. And you would have Bologna, you would have Oxford, but after that, you have another university, which is also in Africa, in Mali, University of Timbuktu, which was started in the 1100s. So University of Timbuktu was actually started long before Cambridge. Now, why do you think I gave you this information? I gave you this information because one of the important aspects of a university education is what we call critical thinking, meaning that you don't necessarily accept what is handed to you. You look at it with a critical eye. And it is in that context that we can say that a university education should help to transform a nation. Because presumably, after you all have graduated, you would now look at information with a critical eye. In other words, you think deeply about it and you ask very important questions. And you ask these questions to everyone. Even the information I've given you today, you can think critically about it. Go and research it yourself and see whether or not I am giving you correct information. So what we do here is to help you to think. The most important gift you can give to anyone is to help them to think. And a university education helps you to think. People can take material things from you. They can take your car, they can take your house, they can take your land, although I always say that we don't really own land, because you can't take it anywhere with you. But let us say that we say we own land. People can take that from you. But the one thing they can never take from you is an education. You can take it anywhere in the world. And the good thing is that once you have an education here, you can go anywhere in the world with that education. So the UWI started in 1948, unlike all of these older educational institutions. It started in 1948, and it started as a medical school as part of the University of London, but eventually became autonomous in the early 1960s, and now we have 5 campuses serving 17 countries throughout the Caribbean. It is the only university of its type in the world. The one which closely resembles it is the University of South Pacific, which is much smaller and spread among much fewer countries. This university of the West Indies stretches across the entire English Caribbean, Anglophone Caribbean, and at the Mona here, where you are, is the oldest campus. This is the mother campus, we say. This is where everything started. So we are an institution, ladies and gentlemen, that not only promotes critical thinking, but there are a number of other things which we try to inculcate. One, hard work. Hard work is very important. You can't achieve anything without hard work, or anything worthwhile. Discipline, very important. Show up on time, you get the seat. You don't have to sit in the back. The one factor that distinguishes countries that are way ahead than those who are behind is discipline. And if you go to them, you will see it. Tolerance, meaning that I might not agree with you, but it doesn't mean that we have to be disagreeable, because we are human beings and we have our own differences. And therefore, we must learn to listen and try to understand rather than try to win a point. A lot of people argue to win a point, rather than to understand. If you listen to someone to understand, you get further than to simply win a point with that person. Respect for others, that goes without saying. It's very important to acknowledge that if you don't respect yourself, then you can hardly respect other people. So often, people who are disrespectful to others, it's usually a case that they don't respect themselves. So respect starts with self. You respect yourself. I used to tell my students, when I used to teach undergraduate years ago, some of my students would come and they would make a presentation. And I would say, no, that is unacceptable, or whatever. I may even fail the presentation. And they would get angry. And I would say to them, the only reason I didn't accept this is because I respect you, because I know you can do better. I know that if you had spent more time doing what you're supposed to do, you would have done better. You expect too little of yourself. And any teacher who has low expectations of a student should not be in the classroom. You have to raise the expectations of the persons who are around you. Only then can they reach the heights that they certainly can if they work hard. Diversity, human nature, Mother Nature is diverse. Nature is diverse. Look at the flowers, look at the trees. It's all diverse. Inclusiveness, which is the other side, honesty and integrity. Things that we often take for granted now. Very often people think that you have to, I was speaking to someone yesterday and they said to me that they regret where they are in life because they have friends who were scammers and whatever, and they've gotten ahead. And I've said to them, so tell me, do you know how do they sleep and how do you sleep? Because ultimately, at some point, we have to account for all that we have done here. Maybe not to the police or the law, but maybe to someone else. We don't know, but the point is that at some point, we have to give an account. So, what words can I leave you, given that this is my last time being here? What words of advice can I give you, parents, and you persons new students into the institution? I will say to the parents to encourage the parents and your wards and the spouses who are here, encourage that person to do a number of things. One, imagination. The university is a place to imagine. If you and your parents think of your society in the same way, then something is wrong. By that I mean that as a younger person or a person who's been exposed to additional information, that presumably should impact on your imagination. Einstein once said that imagination is more important than knowledge, because for him, imagination allows us to think beyond which exists to this day. Imagination is very critical. Do you know why you would watch a science fiction, right? Science fiction movie. And then 20 years later, whatever is seen in that science fiction movie, you see it in real life, and you wonder, wow. Those people who created that movie used their imagination. They saw beyond what exists now. Great leaders have very strong imagination. Great leaders, in order to act, have to first imagine. If I want to act on independence, I have to imagine it. Marcus Garvey said that before speaking, he would go before a mirror and rehearse his speech for a very long time because he imagined himself doing it. And he also imagined what that would do ultimately. And this is true of all leaders. They have very, very strong imagination. And one of the important aspects of the university is to imagine and to imagine the impossible. By that I mean what is impossible is a function of your own imagination. Because a lot of things which we take for granted today, these things were impossible 50, 100, 200, 300 years ago. So the first thing that's important for us is imagination. So parents, spouses, friends, whoever you are, when you have your child or your spouse or whomever return after class and start to engage in some of the seemingly most ridiculous thoughts, don't take them as ridiculous. Engage them, because you never know where those thoughts will take you. The other one has to do with building character. And I also often say to students who are leaving university and moving forward, That piece of paper opens up the door, but that character keeps you there. The piece of paper opens up the door, and sometimes that piece of paper might not even open up the door because so many people have a degree or a master's or a PhD that you're applying for that same job. What is it that distinguishes you from that person? One of the things that a good university education does is to help you to build character. Building character also helps in building leadership skills. And I would like to quote from a person who once said about leadership, the challenge of leadership is to be strong, but not rude, to be kind, but not weak, to be bold, but not to be a bully, be thoughtful, but not lazy, be humble, but be not timid, be proud, but be not arrogant. So, humility is at the base of all of this. There's an African proverb, West African proverb, which said, if you are filled with pride, then you have no room for wisdom. And recently I was listening to an astrophysicist, Neil deGrasse Tyson, those of you who might see him on TikTok or YouTube or wherever, and he was explaining things about the universe. And one of the persons who interviewed him said, how come we know so little? And I heard he said this, and I went back and I wrote it. He said, as the area of our knowledge grows, so too does the perimeter of our ignorance. In other words, the more you know, the more you realize you do not know. So none of us will know so much that they think that they do not need to learn anything else. In fact, it's the people who know a lot that they realize they don't really know that much because there's so much out there to know. Obviously, you're here to learn, so therefore, if you have a certain humility, that inspires you to learn. And I want to quote a Swahili proverb, and it says, where there are experts, there will be no lack of learners. Where there are experts, there will be no lack of learners. Realize what the proverb is saying. You may be an expert, but it doesn't mean that you know. You are an expert when you realize that you need to learn more. So you have this information, but you need to learn more. And the last thing I would say here that we need to do is understand that we live in a world with other people. And hence, it takes a village actually makes sense. We cannot live without the other. You are you because of the other. You have no meaning except in the context of other. Because if it were you alone, then you would have no meaning because there would be no other to make meaning of you. So you can only exist in the context of others. Therefore, I would say one of the things that we need to be very clear about is that need to work with others. And again, I'm going to quote another proverb, and this is my last to you. If you want to go fast, you know that one? Go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Think about it. Climate change affects all of us. The only way human beings can address climate change, it's so hot, is if we work collectively. One of the things that universities do is to teach you to work collaboratively. So students, when you get your group work, do not complain because you're going to get a lot of group work and you're going to be wondering why. Why? Because when you leave, those of you who will leave to work afterwards, you will realize you have to work in teams. And being able to get along with the other person is going to determine how you make it in life. So, let me leave by issuing a challenge to you all. Try to think outside of the box. Try to look at options and alternatives beyond what is in front of you. If you're thinking about going somewhere to spend a semester. Don't think just about United States or the UK. The fastest emerging place on earth is Africa. And I'm not saying this in theory. I have been back and forth across Africa for the last 2 years, from north to south. And I can tell you, it is clear to me that is the future of humanity. It's absolutely clear to me. It's not to say that the others are not important. But when you see what is happening on that continent, you realize that if there's growth to happen, it can only happen one place. Europe has no way to grow. Europe is overgrown at this moment. United States has no way to grow. It has almost reached, it's plateauing and declining. Asia has taken off and has done quite well. Probably India, but India has a space problem. China is doing extraordinarily well, but notice China, India, these countries are also collaborating with Africa. I say to you, and I say to you over and over again, the world is changing dramatically. There are new alignments. Students, look for other alternatives. Do not only think about the American visa. There are other places on this earth that offer better opportunities. And I'm saying this from experience. It's not theory, it's not dream, it is what I know. So I'm going to ask you, when an opportunity comes to do something different, take that opportunity. Plunge, go ahead, because that is probably what's going to distinguish you from the other person sitting to you. So I say to you, those of you who are thinking of moving on, Africa is a continent with numerous possibilities and opportunities. I couldn't keep that in because I have been telling my colleagues this so much, but we don't understand because we are locked into we are locked into an information system which stifles our imagination. Come out of that system. Come out of that system and ask questions about the rest of the world. There is a world where the majority of humanity resides, and you should find out more about that. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, parents, I know you've invested a lot for your children, your child to come here. Spouses, I know you're going to need time for your partner to be here, and wards and other friends who have accompanied other people here. I know it's a big investment in terms of your time and your interests. I encourage you to take advantage of what we have. We should be proud of what we have. It's a lot to be proud of since 1948. But there's a world beyond this which we should explore. Again, think outside the box. Think critically. Look for alternatives. Don't take anything for granted. Question everyone, including your professor, your lecturer, but do it with evidence, thoughtfulness, and intellectual rigor. Thank you all. I wish you a wonderful time at this great institution. And I hope that a few years when I come back, or when I'm traveling the continent, African continent, or wherever, could be Asia, I can meet one of you, and one of you can say to me, you know, I took that plunge that you told me about, and it has worked for me. Once again, welcome to the UWI. Thank you.
Thank you so kindly, Deputy Principal. Having heard from the administration through the Deputy Principal, we will now move to our student representative. Here, our students are everything to us, and they have a seat at the table in every single way. My pleasure and privilege to introduce to you the President of the Guild of Students, a history-making president, Madam Omalora Wilson. Please make her welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed parents and friends, students or new students of the University of the West Indies, members of the platform, all other invited guests, good morning. On behalf of the UWI Guild Council 2023-2024, the esteemed student governing body of the Caribbean, it is with utmost pleasure that I welcome and extend a heartfelt welcome at that to each and every one of you. Today marks a momentous occasion as we come together to celebrate the new beginning of a new chapter in the lives of our beloved students of the University of the West Indies. Dare I say, great persons or great people attend universities, but only the greatest come to the University of the West Indies. My name is Laura Wilson, UWI Guild President. Mr. Mackenzie might call me the history maker because I'm the first female president in history to ever win. Not once, but twice here at UWI. So women, we're stepping up, and we'll be stepping up more. And I've been granted 10 minutes, just 10 minutes, to give to you parents our thoughts of the University of the West Indies from a student's perspective. Administration will come and they'll give it to you formally. You'll hear all that information. But my role here as the president of the Guild of Students, which your student automatically becomes once they attend the University of the West Indies, is to give you the perspective of the student. Yes? So to all parents and family here, your presence is a testament of love and unwavering support that you have shown to our students. And as they embark on this exciting journey of higher education, your role in their lives, parents, remains pivotal. You have been the pillars of strength, of guiding lights, and the source of encouragement that has brought them to this point. And your belief in their potential has been instrumental in shaping the confident individuals that we have here today. And as parents of students attending a tertiary school, your role moves beyond financial and emotional support. It's a role of empowerment, of understanding, and unwavering support. In this phase of their lives, our students will undoubtedly encourage or encounter challenges and uncertainties. And as they navigate in this world of academia, your ensuring presence and your ensuring encouragement will be their anchor. Your role, dear parents, is to be a compassionate listener. It's to be a source of motivation. It's to be a guiding hand in times of needs. I want you to embrace their dreams. I want you to understand their aspirations. And I want you to celebrate their victories, no matter how big or how small. I want you to remind them, parents, that they are not alone on this journey, for you too are an integral part of their academic success. Yes? Sound fancy enough? What I want to preach, parents, to you, is the biggest support I need from you. And again, I'm giving you from a student's perspective. Your child is an asset that you cannot give up on now. And when they enter this institution, they're called a 620. You know what a 620 is? A 620 is the first three numbers of your ID number. 620. Everybody who attends this institution is given that number. What's the number? 620. Your role, parents, is to encourage and ensure that your student doesn't leave this institution as a 620. Them come as a 620, they cannot leave as a 620. I entered this institution as a 620, but I'm not leaving here as a 620. My parents has ensured that I have encouraged or I have gotten and harnessed all potentials and all opportunities out there, so I don't leave as a 620. I'm leaving as Laura Wilson, the Guild President. Laura Wilson, the girl who loves to act and perform. Laura Wilson, the one we're always loud and out there for students. Laura Wilson, the fat girl you can't miss, but never a 620, right? And my parents encouraged that when I came from Hampton School, that when I stepped into the University of the West Indies, I am not going to leave as a 620. So here's what my parents did. But before I go into that, I want to ask you, parents, how many of you here are bringing a student, or you're bringing a student here who is a first generation university student, which means you have never, as a parent, gotten the opportunity to higher education, but your student, your child is getting it today. Be proud, put up your hand. If you know, say, your child is going to be the first to get higher education. Let me see your hand. Look at that. Look around you. I know you alone. But because your child is the first in your family to say that they have attended a university, you must be there to support them. Yes? I was not the first one, my mommy. She has a daughter who is older than me. But she was a little bit more prepared. So my parents, I'll give you from what my parents did, and I hope you can either follow their suit or do better. This is what they did. Yes? The minute your student comes here, it means that for about 3 to 6 hours per day, you won't have access to them. Some of them will be living on halls of residence. Some of them will live in residence outside of the university space. Some may come home at the end of the day, but not a lot. The first thing my parents taught me how to do is to cook, right? They taught me to cook the night before I moved in on hall. My mother called me and she said, let me tell you something. I'm not going to be able to cook for you. This is a cup, this is how you count out your rice, this is how you cut up your meat, this is how you put in the pot, and you're good to go. My mother taught me how to cook brown stew chicken and white rice, and for 1 month I ate brown stew chicken and white rice. Why? Because my mother teach me to do so I can become independent. So when I walk in the kitchen, I don't have to look over somebody's pot and wonder how them do it. Because my mother teach me something already. My father taught me how to peel orange. I always cut up my finger, but he said, you cannot ask people at university to peel orange. I will laugh at you. Peel it yourself. So it gives you that sense of independence when you start to teach your children how to do the basic things. So it moves from boiled egg and pasta, and now you have to learn to cook brown stew chicken and white rice, so that later on you can cook stew peas and rice and peas. I don't know what I cannot cook right now. I'm a chef in the making. But moving from that, you need to teach your student or your child to adapt to the culture of the University of the West Indies. This is no longer high school where you can go and collect your report from the teacher. This is no longer high school where you can say to them, go and study your book. If they don't get that sense of independence to do it themselves, they're going to be lost. You have to encourage them, parents, to let them know that they're their own adults right now. But it's not just the culture of independence, but the culture of participating. When I went to Hampton School, I don't know what club me never in. As long as they can beat pan, me I go. But we have students, especially in the commuting body, that's those who leave campus at the end of the day and go home, whether it's off campus or back home to you, who don't participate in the activities we have here at the University of the West Indies. Over 90 clubs and societies. You cannot allow your student to come home, she leave or he leaves 9 o'clock in the morning, comes home 12 o'clock. What the club there where you've joined today? No club. Did you go to look to the hall that you're attached to? No. So what are you doing as an extracurricular activity? Nothing. And you walk away, parents, and say, okay. No. Tell them to get up and become a part of the institution. Because there's one thing that happens within the classroom, parents, and there's something else that happens outside the classroom. But if you only come here for what is inside the classroom, all the soft skills and the development skills that your child could have gotten, you have encouraged them to miss out. So I'm saying this to you, parents. You know what your children are doing in high school. Encourage them to continue on that road. We have one of the best steel pan band in the West Indies, a choir that is unmatched, performing arts like no other. If you will ever go JCDC high school, them done. But we need you to encourage your students to participate in extracurricular activities. You call from St. Lucia and say, how you doing? I'm home. Go, meet some friends, meet some peers. Encourage your students to participate so that they become a wholesome student. Ever hear that word? To have a wholesome character? Get your students or your child to become a wholesome child. Yes? We move on from that to encourage your students to find their voice. I was not always this person who was, oh, a lie, I was always like this. But I never understood student leadership. And the role of the guild is to be basically, and children who are here, is like I'm a student council president, but on the tertiary level. I'm somewhat of a head girl, but on the tertiary level. My guild consists of 43 members in your halls and your faculties who goes above and beyond so that your voice is there in every room, on every board, that you are seated at every table. The UWI Mona Guild Council must have a representative at every board for the University of the West Indies. So whatever the university is doing, it's doing for the welfare of students. But I can't just be your child's advocate. Your child must be his or her personal advocate. You got a mark that you know you deserve and the teacher didn't give it to you. Ask, where did I go wrong? Allow your child to be brave and speak up for themselves from now, so that when they go into the wider world, nobody can step on them. But we need you parents to play your role right there. And winding down, we love students that give back to society. We love students that volunteers. It's beautiful to just play your part, not just as a student, but as an aspiring nation builder. Give back. The Guild has countless initiatives. Every weekend we do street feeding. Allow your child to give back. And if you don't want them to give back because it makes them good nation builders, allow them to give back because when they put it on their resume, they'll get a job. But your child must be willing to volunteer. Now here's a part that your child can't do, and I don't like seeing students doing. Parents, you have one major role to play here, more than any other role, and that's financial support. Higher education is not cheap, and with our economy, it will not get cheaper. Your role is to ensure that you are doing the financial fight so your students can get the academic victory. Allow your community and your villages, your parishes and your towns to be a support for your child. Walk around your community and say, you know, Sir Francesca getting a university, I need to pay off the school fee. May I sell a slice of cake? Do. $200. Buy a goat and a pig, because you know so that can be David's school fee. But don't allow your child to be up here worrying about what they need to do to pay off their school fee, their hall fees, because it robs them from the time where they could focus on their schoolwork. So be the parent that can say to your student, go and go learn. I will sort out the rest. We have financial loan agencies. People don't like student loan per se, because they have to pay it back, but it's an investment in your child's future. We have installment plans here at the University of the West Indies. My parents had 3 students coming here in COVID. I'm grateful for COVID, because if it did face-to-face, we would not afford it. My parents relied heavily on installment plans. So they pay each month. So they worry about it month by month. So by exam time, I don't have to worry about. But you can't put that pressure on your child. I have a child right now who is here who wants to sell cookie and donuts. They're here right now, so you might see them outside. That's why they can't sell it today. What I tell them is, I'll ask you for a donation. So if you have $150 and you see me, please give it to me. I love that. But play your part for the financial aspect for your students or your children. It's your investment. Masika said, the youth them powerful like God a walk. Pay and play your part so your child can make history out here. But I'm wrapping up because we gotta go. Dear parents and family, as you entrust us with this care and education of your loved ones, we promise to provide them with an enriching and nurturing environment. And our goal is to foster a community that promotes academic excellence, it fosters personal growth, and an appreciation for diversity. We believe in the power of unity and inclusivity, and together we can create a vibrant and supportive space for our students to thrive. As we embark on this new academic year, let us stand united in our commitment to student success. Your presence here today signifies the unbreakable bond that connects us all in their shared journey. Let us celebrate our students' accomplishments. Let us encourage their pursuits. And let us cherish the memories that they will create during their time here, as we have in the Ramona Guild Council's motto, together we can make it happen. Should you have any questions or queries, I'll be around. You can't miss me. So will members of my guild. They'll be wearing their bright red shirts. Some will be in their faculty shirt. If your child is here, they can meet their faculty representative today. Your child can come and have a conversation with me today. You can also come to scan the QR code so you can join the WhatsApp group for first-year students. Students, if you see me, come to me, scan the code, log in. Here are some of my faculty reps, stand so that I can see you. That's the Faculty of Science and Technology representative and the Faculty of Humanities and Education representative. Go and have a conversation if that's your faculty. Get it from a student's perspective. It doesn't get any better than that. Yes? Once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for encouraging and entrusting the University of the West Indies with your students. And let us move forward on this journey filled with optimism and hope for the bright future that awaits our students at the University of the West Indies. Onwards and upwards, together we rise, together we can make it happen. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, now you see why she's guild president 2 years in a row, right? Another round of applause, man, for our very effervescent president of the Guild of Students. And you know, sometimes we come and as administrators, we talk to you about these wonderful opportunities in this space. But it's always good to hear from the horse's mouth, eh? Let me introduce some persons before I move forward to you quickly. Members of my team that are here up front with me. Others will introduce in short order, but Mr. Bertram Anderson is the Student Service and Development Manager for Elsa Leoraine Hall and the person who coordinates our outreach activities here on campus. And you'll get to meet the managers for those of you who are seeking to have your child or ward reside in the Hall of Residence. You'll get to meet the SSDMs later in the afternoon and to do a tour of the halls if you so decide, right? And next to him is Dr. Anne-Marie Williams, who heads our Placement and Career Services Office. Dr. Williams, just stand and be acknowledged, recognized. Wave to the folk. All right, we continue right along. And I spoke about hearing from the horse's mouth. And, you know, many students in the higher education space find the academic atmosphere, Madam Guild President, difficult. The transition from high school to higher education, which may involve making new friends, moving to another city or another country, leaving your parents' home, the pressure to achieve good grades and to meet educational standards, all of that, the demands, financial problems and so on, problems within the family setting, that can make the living very, very difficult, you know? And so we're going to hear from one of our students as to how he was resilient, how he overcame challenges and just navigating this space. And after that, we will hear from Dr. Richards on easing the transition. So I'm going to invite to the lectern at this point in time, Armani Gomes. Armani would have entered UA a few years ago as a regional student from Antigua and Barbuda. He lives in one of our halls of residence. And, you know, his story is an intriguing and exciting one, I find. And, you know, just how he talks about how you can tap into the resources here on campus and how, you know, your work can help to support student success. So invite me to make welcome to the lecturer to share briefly with us Armani Gomes.
Good morning, everybody. So I will share 3 words with you this morning before I start. They all 3 start with R. So follow me. Rooted, ready, rising. Say it again with me. Rooted, ready, rising. So, my name is Armani Gomes, a paraprofessional, a musician, a cultural practitioner, a lover of our Caribbean region, and a proud UE Pelican. My journey through the University of the West Indies was filled with a lot of ups and downs, but it's one that allowed me to live by those words, rooted, ready, and rising. Taking many chances, as Professor Boxall would have stated before, it has allowed for many opportunities for growth and self-development. So I'm going to share a little bit of that story with you today. So sit back and let's talk. Now, before UE, I was originally supposed to enroll in 2017 to do a degree in tourism management. But at the time, I received a scholarship to another institution, and that was in Canada. Now, I say this to say that our educational system and the education that you receive at the university in the West Indies is par excellence. This is the best education that you can receive in the world, and it prepares you as professionals to handle any situation that you may face. From the many faculties that you see, we would have produced the top professionals across the world, and that is evident today. Now, I would have started at the St. Mary's University, and due to academic problems and financial difficulties, it was a time that I had to step back from school and education. So I stopped in my second year in 2019, and I felt like a complete failure, and I had to start from scratch. Started working, but for me, my passion was always music. Steel pan in particular, that is my instrument of choice. And in 2019, and in the transition to the COVID-19 pandemic, I started taking chances with steel pan, started playing a lot more, and was blessed with many opportunities at home. Then came COVID. Places locked down, you don't know what to do. Took a chance with a competition on Instagram called Panagramma, and this was the first steel pan competition ever handled across the world online. By God's grace, I, who did not have an education in music, made it to the finals against people who had their master's degrees in music, and was able to just have fun and express myself through it. After participating in that competition, I heard about a program at UE Mona in Music and Performance Studies in the Faculty of Humanities and Education, and I took a chance. I'll say this to you, it has been the best academic journey I've been on. I followed my passion, and I'm now striving for creating a career based on what I love and what I'm passionate about. Now, seeing that I started in COVID, it was online. It was a totally different experience than what you guys will face coming into the environment of UE now. Classes are online. Sometimes you feel like you get up in the morning, you turn on your class and you're sleeping. But it allowed for a lot more camaraderie. You took a different approach, and it allowed for me to really focus in on what I wanted to do and to learn how to understand how I study and how I can apply practice and theory to the instrument. Second year, I made a journey across the seas and I came to Jamaica. Things weren't fully opened up yet, still some lockdowns, but many opportunities nonetheless. Many chances to get involved, and I resided on the Georgia Lane Hall, where I got involved in the form of student leadership, becoming the Cultural Entertainment Affairs chairperson with the hall, having fun, creating experiences that catered to not only the cultural side of the hall's experience, but also understanding entertainment and making the most of it in a COVID-19 ridden Jamaica. With those experiences being in mind and understanding that there was a love for helping others, a love for understanding others, and still doing what you love, it made me want to go further. Make me wanting to give back in some way. So the next year, which was my final year, I took a chance and became hall chairman. This was an experience of a lifetime. This allowed me to view student and education from a different perspective. Parents, I'm reaching out to you in this case. Many of your children may not say what is going on with them, but take a chance and listen. Reach out to them and try to understand them. Students, friends, be there for each other. Create communities. Have fun. This is your space to find yourself and become a better individual as a result of it. But if you're in need of help, speak up. Reach for advice. It's not that far away, and nobody's going to bite you or attack you for actually trying to reach out and getting it. We're all here to support you. The many halls of residences across the university have become homes for many persons who come from abroad and give different curated experiences that aid in not only first year, second year, and also final year experiences. There are many other opportunities across the university for you to grow, whether to get careers, as well as to get the help you need, whether it's through mentorship, whether it's through service or leadership. There's something there for you. This university, in 75 years, the theme of this year's celebration is rooted, ready, and rising. But really and truly, you have to have some good vibes with it and enjoy yourself, right? Today, I stand before you, a resident advisor, being there for the students and being able to share my experience with them, and to also take a chance in what I love and continue curating a passion. So I'll share my dream and my goal with you. So you guys can feel special. You guys will be the first to hear it out loud. But what I'm working towards is curating a firm for cultural creative industries across our region, so that all cultural creative practitioners would have an avenue to express themselves, no matter across what island they're from. At the same time, I know the motto of Jamaica is out of many, one people. The motto of my island is each endeavoring, all achieving, and through collaboration, we can achieve that goal. I also say, follow your passions. I even want to continue. I'm continuing now with a Master's of Arts degree in Cultural Studies, where I'm learning to not only document our culture, but actually apply it in many different ways. Now, again, the university has assisted me personally in many ways, and it has become a home for me and somewhere very close to my heart. And for you that are entering this university, I hope it is the same. Now, to the three words that we started with. What is the first word again? Rooted. An education that is from a proven institution that continues to produce top professionals across all disciplines in the world. Second word, ready. Y'all not ready yet? You ready yet? You are, or if you're not that ready yet, will be prepared to take on any challenge that comes across your way. And rising. You are all the stars and futures of tomorrow. You are history makers in the making. Continue to strive for excellence always. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so very much, Armani, for sharing with us. There are a number of persons from whom you'll hear later on today, and because Professor Mansing is going to come to us post or a little break, I want to introduce you now. So let me introduce to you. She'll talk to us about academic matters, and it's a very, very critical session in preparation for your Child Award being here. So let me introduce to you Professor Gunjan Mansing. Professor Mansing is the head of the Department of Computing, and she's standing instead of the Dean, who is Professor Michael Taylor. So could you please stand and be acknowledged, Professor Mansing? A round of applause for Professor Mansing, please. Beautiful. And as we continue in the theme, supportive families, curating the resilient student, we are going to hear from one of our professionals here in this space. Because as we talk about this matter of resilience, we understand that our students are going to face challenges from time to time. I tell you, the level of stress and adversity in higher education can be even higher for particular student populations. Do you know that? So people with no family history of higher education, the President mentioned first-generation students. There's a substantial gap between high school completion an entry into the higher education space. You know, those with dependents and our children and those who study and work, full-time work, full-time study, full-time work, part-time study, are challenged in various areas. And we want to help you ease the transition into higher education. And so this morning, to talk with us about easing the transition, we have Dr. Nemicha Richards, who comes to us from the University Health Center. She'll perhaps share about that space and its offerings and how we can help you navigate this space. I want for you to give a rousing round of applause to Dr. my good friend, my dear friend, Dr. Nemicha Richards.
Good morning, Mr. Mackenzie, and Director of Student Services. Good morning, everyone. I am very happy and proud to be here. Very happy and proud to be here. Very happy and proud to see so many of you, family members, friends, community members, students here supporting what we do for our students and fellow Pelicans of this university. Good morning to you all. So, can you go back for me? All right, so I am a proud Pelican myself, being a graduate of the Faculty of Medical Sciences, and I am a psychiatrist at the University Health Center, which is located a little further over to your right on the other side of the Ring Road. You will get to know the place more and more with time. Next slide, please. Now, as the psychiatrist at the Health Center, I come here bringing greetings from our director, our clinical director, Dr. Tina Hilton Kong, and the other 35 members of staff of the University Health Center. And as we attend to the physical and the mental health needs of students and staff and dependents of the UWI community, we do so by paying special attention to the psychological and social circumstances from which your family member comes, which obviously speaks to the traditions and practices of the family and the community from which our students come. And as such, we're able to participate in the transformation of not students, but not only the mental health of our students, but of the mental health of the entire nation. And we take a lot of pride in that. Back again, please. All right, so we're easing the transition. Now, as you can see, our crest up top there bears on top of it, the pelican, the brown pelican. And that pelican is a symbol of piety, which is a symbol of respect and regard for something greater than ourselves. It's a symbol of Caribbean unity, leadership, and triumph, soaring through scholarship, way above adversity. And that's what we want for all of our community members, especially you, our students, and by extension, families of students. So we're going to talk a little bit about easing or of transitioning, easing the transition. And what we do in mental health at the Health Center is we ease the tension. Mr. Mackenzie spoke and Armani spoke about the difficulties that one has to rise above to actually land a place at this university. And the student coming in represents the journey that involved all of you to help them get here. And that journey oftentimes was never easy. And so we have to take some time in counseling, in mental health, to ease that tension and take things a little slower. And that's what we do in our section. Next slide. Next slide. So a quote from Jane D. Hall: "At the end of the day, the most overwhelming key to a child's success is the positive involvement of parents. And let me hasten to say, the positive involvement of any carer, the village, it could be a teacher, a loved one, a good neighbor, an aunt or uncle, a mentor, any parental or other healthy support figure. Just one person who cares is what builds resilience. Next slide. Resilience requires relationships. The capacity to adapt and thrive despite adversity develops through the interaction of supportive relationships, biological systems, and gene expression. Despite the widespread belief that people need to only draw upon some heroic strength of character, science now tells us that it is the reliable presence of at least one supportive relationship and multiple opportunities for developing effective coping skills that are the essential building blocks for strengthening the capacity to do well in the face of significant adversity. And this is a quote from the Center of Developing Unit of Harvard University. Next slide. Many of us are carrying around old stories from childhood that tell us, no one listens to me, no one cares what I want, no one sees me. This is the basic essence of many of the struggles that our students face, that we all face. And at the Health Center, we strive to see our students, we strive to listen to them, and we definitely care about them. Next slide, please. So our services at the Health Center, particularly in the mental health section, consists of 5 counseling psychologists, myself, the psychiatrist, and we deal with upwards of 15 to 30,000 students, upwards of 1,500 to 3,000 staff and their dependents. And these are all of the services that we provide, including advocacy, outreach. We have a mental health helpline, what we call a lifeline, and we do behavioral assessments, treatments, and we provide excuses if there are any issues that would prevent the student from succeeding academically. Move on, please. This is how you can reach us, and as I said, we're over on the other side of the Ring Road, on Gibraltar Campway, just up from the University School of Nursing. And these are our numbers. You can document them for future reference. Next slide. And this is us. Myself, our head of counseling, Dr. Debbie Ann Chambers, our affable psychologist, Dr. Shields, our 2 part-time counselors, and Mrs. Wilson to my left, right here, to your left, to your extreme left, part of our team. And then from the Western Jamaica campus, we have Dr. Stuart Dixon. Next slide, please. So this is us, and we attend to UA Open Campus, UA Mona, and the Western Jamaica campus. Next slide, please. Okay, this, something missing here. All right, let me just go to my backup. All right. So mental health and well-being is a shared responsibility that one of us, the entire community. During September to December of 2022, we collected some data about the people we see a lot at the health center because we were noticing some trends and thought we would try to capture what exactly are we seeing. And what the data revealed is that the majority of people who come to see us for counseling and mental health concerns are female, and just a small 20% are male. The majority of students come from the medical faculty, as well as the Faculty of Social Science and the Faculty of Science and Technology. Now, I mention this because it's important to know that these particular faculties may tell us a little bit about the struggles that students face. And so if your loved one is in any of these faculties, not exclusively, it's important to reach out, as our says, and to pay special attention when they complain about different issues, encourage them to get help if they're having this sort of problem. What we also found is that 77% self-reported anxiety, while 67% reported depression, 32% reported suicidal feelings, and about 12.9% of our students reported active plans to harm self. And we take this very seriously. It tells us that our students are struggling. And what we know too in our culture is that we're less likely to seek mental health care. We're less likely to reach out for help. We're less likely to feel that this is a medical situation that requires professional or medical attention. And we tend to suffer in silence. So what we want you to do for us to help us at the health center and the UA community, we want you, parents, family, and yourselves as students to normalize seeking mental health care. Make this normal. Make this a regular thing that we all do when we realize that there's a need. And for those of us who may not recognize there's a need, that there's someone who cares that may help the person to understand that, yes, time come to see a professional to get a little more help. Let's normalize that. And what we want you to understand too is, how do you refer a loved one? If you know that the person needs to be referred when he or she has had or is having concerning behaviors or a history of treatment or hospitalization. So it's important that if your loved one has had prior treatment, that you alert us to this issue by encouraging them to come in and fill out the forms and tell us about their past, okay? And if there is no past, if you notice that something is happening, that you are one of those people who cares and says, go to the health center. There's someone there who cares and who will be able to help. You want to refer for support, especially when you find that what you've been offering to your loved one is just not enough, and their symptoms seem to be getting worse, and they're continuing for longer and longer and longer. You want to refer to us to ensure that your loved one gets help early before symptoms cause life-threatening concerns. Let your loved one know that you want him or her to have the best help available, that you are unable to give the professional assistance that they need. Let your loved one know that your support will continue no matter what. Make sure to follow up with your loved one to make sure they come in for help. And if the encouragement to get help is not accepted, continue to support and reach out for professional help to get the intervention needed. By that I mean, as family, if your loved one is not willing to come in for help, you reach out to us yourself and give us some information so that we can then take that information and try to find the person ourselves. All right, so just want to acknowledge the team of counselors that helped in this presentation, and you all for listening to the presentation. And I just want to check if there might be any questions, any queries, anything that you're not so sure about as far as the providing health needs for your loved one. Do we have any questions at all? All right, well, I'd like to thank you all. Oh, please, stand. Yes.
Just a second here. Just a second. There are microphones in the aisles. If you have a question, we just ask that you stand behind a microphone. You'll be acknowledged because we want the rest of the audience to benefit from the question and, importantly, the response.
Good morning. Thanks for your presentation. It would be helpful to know what are some of the common causes of these mental health issues so that we as parents can be on our guard and look out for those types of situations that we can intervene.
Yes, thank you so much for that question. Right, so I touched on some basics in my presentation regarding this matter of students not feeling seen, not feeling heard, not feeling cared for, and the strains of transitioning into university from high school. University, you can imagine, is very different what in high school comes with of intensity and depth that can be very difficult for students to adapt to. There's also a lot of pressure to perform. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so there's also a lot of pressure to perform. Some of you have indicated that this is the first generation family member who might be coming to university. For some, they're accustomed to performing at a certain level in high school, but coming to university, you're now plunged into a pool where everyone is performing at their A game. And that can be very stressful for students, right? There are obviously the issues that they come from. So there might be issues at home, domestic abuse. There might be issues in terms of the level of support in the house, the financial constraints in the home, difficulties with another member of family being ill, and how that affects their ability to focus when they're here at school. So there are many things. Then, of course, coming to university and adjusting to this lifestyle, maybe even living on hall and being on your own, being so independent, away from family. Mommy, daddy not here, I can do what I want to do. And you might find yourself getting into situations, whether relationships or the use of substances, that don't work well with you. You know? And then, that comes with its own pressures. And so this is where a lot of the issues come from. But what I wanted to point out was how anxiety and depression tend to be two of the main symptoms that we're dealing with. And we also find that students are also thinking about harming themselves and demonstrating self-harming behaviors at times. So these are the symptoms and signs that you should look out for when you call, when you reach out. Just check in, see how they're doing in these different areas of university adjustment, and what influences might they be exposed to, and how they're feeling, listening to them, seeing them, and then being able to normalize help-seeking behavior to encourage them to come in, because we do have the services. Was there anything else do I see a hand there? No? All right, so hopefully you can see from the screen how you can reach out to us if there are any other concerns or questions. And in time, you'll definitely know exactly where to find us. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of the activities.
Thank you very much, Dr. Richards, for sharing with us. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to go into a very important segment. After all, we are indeed an academic institution, and our quest is to help you to understand how to relate to us, parents, guardians, spouses, recognizing that your child is really the person, an adult, with whom we will relate, you know? These are different times. It's not like in high school when you collect high school report, right? It's not gonna work that way. And there are several other things having to do with the GPA system and how the academy works. So we have the twin team of Professor Mansingh and Mrs. Folks Golson, who is interim dean. I'm not from the Faculty of Law, but we invite you, Professor Mansingh, to kick off the relay to get things going. She'll be sharing with us on academic matters, after which you'll have an opportunity to engage her, to ask questions, so you can better be informed, be better informed about our offerings here and how we operate as a higher education institution. Over to you, Professor Mansingh.
Thank you. Thank you. Is it still good morning? I should say good day, so we can greet each other for the whole day, right? To the parents, families, spouses, guests, and also my university colleagues. Welcome to the University of West Indies. And as you probably all know, since your ward and child are in this university, that it is the top university in the Caribbean. And it is the top 1.5% of the universities in the world, and that is based on higher education ranking. It just didn't become this 1.5% of the top universities in the world. That is all the hard work of our students and also us, our lecturers and our administrators. We collectively have made it this great university. And I'm always, I'm sure as you came in through the main gates, that driving or coming into the university is always a great experience. You're always ensured that you're going to learn. I often hear of my colleagues working in the private sector or any other sector, and they have this kind of a boredom in their life. But when we come on campus, we are assured that we are always learning. And that is what the students, when they are coming on campus, they're assured that they're always learning. Even today, as I stand in front of you, I heard our deputy principal, talking about, he gave us a description of a doctor and a PhD, right? You all remember that? I recently became a PhD, I recently became a professor. So I was thinking that, okay, that's an interesting one, because I am also a student of this institution. I did my master's and my PhD here. I finished my PhD in 2009, and today, from a doctor, I have now become a professor. So what does it really mean for the students who are really coming into this institution? It becomes very important that we are always learning. And very important thing to note that we are living in an era that the world is changing around us, right? You see so much in media about artificial intelligence, the jobs of the future, what is going to happen. The university degree is actually preparing you for this, the job of the future, which may not even exist just now. We don't know what jobs will stay, what jobs will go. So this university degree is creating that foundation. And as I look at all of you and I look around, we see these beautiful trees. And if you remember what our student representative said, the motto of university is, it's rooted, it's ready, and it's rising. So let's focus on the word rooted. And what do we really, in my view, what I see as rooted? When I see trees outside giving us beautiful shade, they have a root system. They have a main tap root, it's called. Some of you, in the audience may know it. And then some have these lots of, lateral roots, the fibrous roots. So the students who are like the tap root know from beginning what is it that they want to do. So they may be in the medical faculty, they may be in the engineering faculty, in the law faculty, and they know exactly what is it that they wish to do. Some of you may be, or even in other faculties, they knew from beginning they want to do computer science, or they want to do maths, or they want to do economics. And some may be the lateral roots. You really don't know what you want in life just now. That's okay. I didn't know what I wanted in my life when I was in. As parents, you are encouraging them to select the right subject so that oh, they're in this lateral phase, and the world that we are living in, everything will eventually merge together. You can find music and technology going well together. So it's some things you had not even thought about. Currently we are running a summer camp on campus. It's a free residential coding camp. And who's our patron for this coding camp? Chronics. Who would have thought that Chronics would be sponsoring and would be an ambassador for a computer programming coding camp for high school students, right? So the future has so many possibilities, and selection of the right subject really becomes very important. And I always suggest to students that pick subjects which are desirable to you, but meaningful to the job market. So we always have to find where that, the combination or the amalgamation of these, your personal interests, because you will only do well in an area that you enjoy. Isn't that true? If we don't, like, I enjoy what I do, and hence coming to work is not a problem for me because I think of it as fun. You ask me to, teach a class and I'm enjoying the teaching process. There's some things we don't enjoy in what we do, but we have to learn to deal with them. So one very important part of your life, and you become a student of this university, will be you have this freedom to pick your subjects. Some will not, based on the discipline that they have taken, but some will. And that choice you have to do very carefully. In the faculties, they have a dean's office. There's a faculty office. In the faculty office, there will be many people out there. There will be a dean who manages the entire faculty. There will be an associate dean for undergraduate matters. In the Faculty of Science and Technology, we also have an associate dean for student experience, right? So we have these two deans that are really helping you to understand the counseling part of it. Remember, we are the face that the students are first seeing. We are the ones who are telling them, go to administration, or go see Professor Boxell, or go see Jason if you're living in the halls, or if you need to go to the health center, we will we will say that, okay, maybe you are at that, you need that kind of assistance and help. So in the faculty office, every student should be mindful of that there are people who will help you. And university is based on, the student experience. You are the customers of this institution. Without the students and the new students coming in, I would not have a job. So it's, even besides that concept that I wouldn't have a job, to me as a parent myself, young people are very important because they are the future of this country. Then from the faculty office, you will learn about various departments that you may have taken. Let's say you come to my department, Department of Computing. So there will be a head of department who is there to really help you along with any problem you have. And then in the department, we will also have undergraduate coordinators. And these coordinators are there to guide you in deciding what courses you must take. Some are decided by the faculty that you must this course, foundation course, these are a must. There are X number of credits that you need to do. You can go get a credit check. What are these credits? Every course, we don't have subjects anymore. We will now be talking about the units that we are talking about is going to be talking in terms of courses. So every course has a number associated with it, which is called the credits. And once you get X number of credits, I think it could be 94 or 93, I'm not too sure, and different faculties may have different credit requirements, you are awarded your degree in the entire 3-year process. So you must keep a check on these numbers, and you're doing a course that is 3 credits. You need to do a minimum of 24 credits. Make sure that you are doing that. So some of these things, as a parent, you could ask your child, are you ensuring that you have taken the right number of courses? So at the end, there are no surprises. And if you don't know the answers, please go to your department coordinators, your HODs, or your dean's office, faculty office. They will help you in that process. Don't ever feel lost. No question is a stupid question. Now, with this, we are rooting you in this world. So we are, be it the tap root or the fibrous root, and enabling you to really take on anything that's thrown at you. And there's a lot that gets thrown at you as you're becoming an adult, because this is the cusp between being a child and becoming an adult. And along with your parents, we in the faculties are also working with you in that process when they are becoming that adult. So I always tell parents and even students, we always teach our students to succeed, which is what we must always do, but we must also teach them how to cope with failure. Very, very important. Because it is the inability to cope with failure makes them go down a path where they will need the health center facilities. So we should always be, as parents, also teaching them how to cope with failure. I have students who come to my office and they're crying because they may have failed, and they may have a 48, let's say, and a 50 is the pass mark. And they say, Dr. Mansingh, it's just 2 marks. And I tell them, even if it was my child, I will tell them, fail at 48. You don't want, especially if you're in first year, you don't want to build a foundation with half-baked knowledge. We know that house won't stand, right? If you're building a house, I'd rather you do it again and get a 70% or 80% or even 100%. Right? The repetition will probably help you. You were doing many things in the first year, you are distracted in the environment, but don't just try and pass. That 2 marks to a 50 is actually detrimental to your process of learning. Your knowledge that you're here to gain, this process of learning is what makes this, your experience at university, a fabulous experience. So engage in that process. Very, very important. And I find that getting a degree is really putting a student on a step. And so it's not that you have achieved everything, it's just the beginning of your academic life. But the university degree is making you into a lifelong learner. And this is a step, and this step can take you only high. You can only go up. As you do more things, you could do some more certifications or skills or further degrees. You could do a master's. One of our student reps was doing a master's now, one who spoke about music and creativity. And you could be doing a PhD, or, there is a monument. And if you are here on campus for the first time, there's a monument across one of the gates, which has the names of all the prime ministers who have, graduated from this university. And that list is quite long. If I've gone there and looked a few times, the number is in teens. So this institution has produced many great leaders. And as we are, getting these students on this step, we all have to do it collectively, that they're not going to topple from this step and they can only rise. And that is what the logo of university is, the light rising from west. So we are going to make sure that we are rooting them, getting them ready, and they are going to be rising and making us as an institution very proud and happy. But remember, there are many persons there to help you. Don't ever feel lost. Any question you don't have the answer to, go to various persons, go to your faculties, go to your departments, and you will get assistance. If there are any questions, because you will have further counseling and guidance in subject selections. You may have even had it. We had pre-orientation. So these are some of the matters which are dealt with at orientation. But if you have any questions, I can answer them. So either I made complete sense, or I have a parent.
All right, so just to move the process along quickly, if you have a question, you can there's another microphone in this aisle as well. Get to the microphone, we'll take your question. They may be directly related to academic matters or other general matters. Our deputy principal, who's a former dean as well and who heads academic affairs, is also here to help us through these questions, after which we'll move to an item, then we go for break. The financial questions I'll ask that you hold for now, because we will have later on a full financial presentation after which you'll get an opportunity to ask those questions. So if they're academic-related matters or general matters other than finances, you may ask those questions now. Over to you, Madam.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Mansing. Did I hear you say that you have had 3 orientations already? Is there going to be a separate orientation for students?
Yes, of course. There is, we have pre-orientation where students come to us, not parents. So that has happened and it will continue happening in August and as we get to September. So the orientation sessions for students in the faculties, when they have whichever faculty they have decided, they have selected, there will be orientation sessions in those faculties.
Will these be published online? Because I haven't seen that type of information online yet.
Yeah, sure.
Right. I just want to say, just to add to this, this orientation is specific to parents, family members, the support group, right? I know some students have come along. But there is orientation specific to students that will take place the week of August 23. Okay? So we'll have a repeat of parent orientation for some persons who may be coming from overseas and so on Wednesday. I think that's the 23rd of August. The 24th and 25th of August, we'll have general orientation for all new students. So students are required to attend orientation on the 24th and the 25th. The week following that, you'll have faculty-specific orientation. So those who are in humanities and education, you'll benefit from your orientation faculty. Those who are in faculty of law, you'll benefit from orientation in that faculty, where you'll get academic or course selection. New microphone here. This is in and out. You'll get, your faculty is in and so on during that period. I think part of what Prof. Mansing made mention of is that in the Faculty of Science and Technology, they had an early orientation session that students would have benefited from. But there's general orientation for students, August 24 and 25, and then faculty orientation the week, Monday through to Friday. We'll have orientation specific to students who will be studying at the Western Jamaica campus as well, and that will happen during that week of August 27. All right? Thank you. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Hi, pleasant morning, everyone. The issue of security is noticeably absent from the agenda. I would just want for you to touch on that issue of security for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, you notice here for a defined time, and we are able to cover all of the areas. However, during orientation for students, you'll have detailed presentations on security. So you'll get full security information. The students will have that. When they go, those who live in, they will have orientation specific to living in residence around security matters. For our regional and international students who will join us, we'll have an orientation specific to regional and international security. May I ask for a new microphone, please, from our technical team. So we will cover security throughout our student orientation during the week of August, all right?
Okay, just another question. I imagine that at the student orientation, the matter of your gender policy might be discussed. I would like to know, as a parent, how this matter is going to be introduced, because I am seeing ahead. And if what I've heard, that you will be permitting people to pretend to be female when they are male, and male when they are female, and that you will want our children to succumb to the hypocrisy of calling them she and he and all that type of nonsense. I want to know what you're going to do, because from my experience in my family, that social climate affects our students who go overseas. In my family, what I notice is that you might see the male not moving with females and not getting married, and you might overhear the female saying, "Oh, my sexual orientation is very strange," and making little comments like that. It is confusing and it affects them, okay? So I'm warning the people here, if you have anybody going overseas, counsel them, because the environment over there affects them. And I want to know this insidious nonsense, how our students will be, how they are going to be, how it's going to be introduced to them.
Thank you very much for your question and your comments. I think that your interpretation of the gender policy has been articulated by the institution may not be spot on. What I'm going to ask you to do, and for all the parents, just to spend some time to take a look at the policy. It's available to you, and then you'll get a clear interpretation of what we're seeking to do. What I would say to you is that as an institution, the word university means diversity. That's what it is. And within this space, the university embraces students from various backgrounds, race, culture, religion. Everyone has a place at this institution. Our policies are not geared towards discriminating against anyone. We're not seeking to impose any position on any particular student. You come here, you maintain your rights, your personal rights, your civil rights, but we're a place that practices diversity, equity, and inclusion. Thank you so very much.
Okay.
Miss, just hold the thought, hold the thought.
I want to know
hold the thought, miss, hold the
that
thought.
they will not be sanctioned. Our students will not be sanctioned if they do not follow the nonsense.
So we're not. I think if you just listen to me, parents, all, I think I've been very clear in my articulation, and we will continue to embrace every single person who matriculates and comes to this academy. Our rules and policies are very clear. We do not discriminate against anyone, right? So each person has their right and to embrace themselves as they navigate the academy. Right. So we don't favor any group. All right. Thank you so very much for that. We are going to go to a break at this point in time. You are required to be back by 1 o'clock sharp. There are students around in red who will guide you as to where you can find places to refresh yourselves. The bathroom facilities are behind this building or straight ahead to the undercroft. There are bathroom facilities in there. You can ask anybody in red or red, white, and black as to the location of spaces. The e-trays across the campus, they will help to guide you in that manner as well. I'm now going to invite to stage, to take us into break, one of our student leaders. She's the hall chair of Elsa Leorini Hall. Make welcome Danielle Thomas, who will share her amazing talent with us at this point in time.
Microphone testing. Good day, parents. Good day, good day. And greetings to our fellow prospective students. As I'm about to sing this song, I hope that it will be a blessing to each and every one of you. And I hope that to our prospective students, you will stay encouraged throughout the academic year. Sometimes you have to encourage yourself. Sometimes you have to speak victory during the test. And no matter how you feel, speak the word and you'll be healed. Speak over yourself, encourage yourself in the Lord. Sometimes you have to speak the word over yourself. Oh, the pressure is all around, but our God is present help. Though the enemy, he created walls, but remember the giants, they do fall. Speak over yourself, encourage yourself in the Lord. As I minister to you, oh, I minister to myself. Life can hurt you so till you feel there's nothing left. And no matter how you feel, speak the word and you'll be healed. Speak over yourself, encourage yourself in the Lord. Sometimes you have to encourage yourself. Sometimes you have to speak victory during the test. And no matter how you feel, speak the word and you'll be healed. Speak over yourself, encourage yourself in the Lord. Thank you very much.
Thank you so kindly, Daniel. Another round of applause for Daniel Thomas, man. So during the break, we're going to invite you to check in with our sponsors, Scotiabank. The Student Loan Bureau is here. Get information from them. At the back, links, Rush Alert, SWAT, that's Student Work and Travel, or team members from the bursary. SAS is here at the back. You can check in with them as well. Just get the information that you need from our booth holders, and we acknowledge and recognize again Scotiabank, the Student Loan Bureau, Links, Rush Alert, SWAT, which is Student Work and Travel. Thank you very much for being with us in the morning segment. We look forward to your being back here promptly at 1 o'clock as we continue the engagement. See you in a few.